David Miller, a case for him to bat at number 4. Now, this is something we're going to discuss, and there's a reason why I picked this particular topic. I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw a particular cricketer speak about an unpopular opinion, and I thought maybe this would be a good topic to discuss this. So I said, why not invite him to the show? He's been watching the shows quite recently. I don't know how regularly we'll find out from him because him, but he's been someone that I've known for quite some time now. Been following him quite closely as well his career. Very talented cricketer, young cricketer still. He's still young, even though he doesn't I don't know if he still thinks he is, but he's a still young cricketer with a long future ahead of him, I feel. But he's going to come on and give his opinions on this. And I think it's a perfect time to talk to you guys, maybe look at the stats, compare them, and have a discussion about this because I think it's a valid point. South Africa currently in their setup, they have I would say, a very inconsistent top 6. We never know who's going to be fielded, which positions are best for which people. We are debating about openers. We are debating about number 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s. So there's constant debates about selection. So this show is going to be about David Miller, especially with his form that he's been showing in the IPL recently. But you know that international stats are going to count. So I'm going to bring his international stats in front of you guys in each position, and we can look at that too. But before we get going, before we get started, if that button is red at the bottom of the screen, please click it, click subscribe, click that notification bell for all future videos as well. Don't forget to also smash that like button, comment, and share. That's how we get into recommended feeds. So please go ahead and do that. Hit that like button. Please do that for us. And then, of course, you can also become a patron today. That will help us actually move forward. It will help us. You can literally donate as much as you see fit. Become a patron. You get certain benefits from it as well. You also get access to an exclusive WhatsApp group with myself in it, as well as some other patrons, where you can have direct communication with me, myself as well. I'm going to add a chat to that too soon. But like, there's so many benefits that we want to give to you guys, exclusive interviews in the future as well. So please become part of our Patreon account. When we hit the 20 mark, that's when we'll decide to do a lot more exclusive interviews, live shows, even exclusive live shows for you guys, Patreons alone. But we need to get the numbers up, guys, before we can start doing that. So without further ado, oh yes, one more thing, one more punt. Download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. Very important that you do that. It's the most important part of our whole business currently and our strategy, because the magazine gives you exclusive insight into amazing stories and some great writers as well that are on display. So without further ado, guys, let's get straight into today's video. Looking forward to chatting to Felane. I'm looking forward to chatting to Aditya. Let's get into this and hearing what you guys have to say too. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host, Khalid. This is my co-host, Aditya, and my other co-host today, Felane. We're going to be talking about David Miller, the number 4 position. But first, before we get started, Neo, I would like you to just give an intro. I mean, that you haven't necessarily been on this channel before. With the interview-wise, I was going to look at it in the future, but this is the perfect opportunity to introduce you to everybody. And I'm hoping that we're going to see you more regularly on the show. So just give a quick background about you as a cricketer, where you're playing, where you've been playing in the last couple of years, your little bit about background and about your journey.
So good evening to everybody watching. My name is Felane. I am a 21-year-old right-arm off spinner, spin batter for Easterns. I play for the Eastern Storm in the past season. I've been fortunate enough to play professional cricket since I was 17. My first interview was actually with Khalid when he was still with SA Cricket magazine. Yeah. And that to date is still a video that I load with everything in me. Some of my highlights, I was fortunate enough to complete the domestic treble, if we can call it. to play a big part in winning Africa Cup, to play a part in winning the CSA one-day comp. We won the three-day cup as well in a really great period for Easterns, and those are probably some of my most favorite achievements in my young career. Was in the monitoring squad for the under-19 World Cup. But I've been playing cricket since I've been a youngin', and that's kind of me. That's my background. That's me.
Yeah, excellent. It's a good, nice understanding of who you are and why you're on the stream as well, because you're going to give us excellent insight, I feel, as a cricketer. And obviously, I'm taking it that you've been watching David Miller as well closely. And I don't know if you've met him yet. We can get into stories maybe a little bit later and talk about some of the professional cricketers that you maybe met and what we've learned from, because it's some excellent insight for everybody. But let's get into this particular topic. First and foremost, I saw your particular post. I think, Neo, it's perfect for you to maybe set it up. You said that this is an unpopular opinion, maybe. What is your thoughts about David, and why do you feel that he should maybe be a number 4 for South Africa in T20 arena?
So my biggest feeling just stems from one, his numbers in his whole career. South Africa, and I say this proudly because I've done my research. South Africa, the Proteas at the current moment don't have a batter who averages 40 and strikes at 100 in ODI cricket. David Miller is the only guy who strikes at 100. And it's funny because we had a chat as Easterns, I think a few weeks back before the end of our one-day campaign. And guys were saying, do you guys know how hard it is to get a strike rate up? Like a career strike rate. So one of our bigger hitters in the lineup was saying, guys, you look around and you think I've been hitting the ball. I only strike at 82, 83. And he's a big hitter, a renowned hitter in South Africa, Yuri Snyman. He was saying that. And he's saying I only strike at 82 in listed cricket. Now, for me, that kind of gives you a highlight of just how good David Miller is. The guy strikes at 100, guys. He walks in and he's going to get around the ball 40 every innings on average. His T20 numbers, he strikes at 140. But his average is not as great simply because in a 120 ball game, the guy only gets on average 20 balls, 30 balls to make a difference in an innings, batting at number 6. And I think he's batted there for 10 years. He's one of our senior players. And I just feel he's more than just a finisher now. He's more than just a hitter to get us out of trouble. David Miller is actually a complete batter. Bowling to him wouldn't be great if I'm being honest. So that's just where my opinion comes from.
Mm-hmm. So let me put up the stats. And Aditya, maybe we can have a look at it. I just want to let me know if you guys can see it. Okay, there we go. It is popping up right now. So I've put up the stats on the screen, and I know that it says men's T20 World Cup on the top over there, and that's just from this is only in T20 cricket. I just wanted to check his T20 numbers because I think T20 is more relevant right now, seeing that we are moving towards the World Cup right now. So I'm hoping that we will be able to find that security. Now, if you look at us in second position, he's only opening the batting. He's only opened once for South Africa. But if you look over there, 4, 5, 6, 7, he's batted mainly in 4, 5, 6. Now his average actually in 6 is obviously quite high because he's batted there a lot of his career. A majority of his innings he's batted there. But I mean, it's not so bad in that number 4 position. Yeah, he averages 30 at the strike rate, 157, 150 only in the position. But he's shown some signs in that as a number 4 batter. But Aditya, can you see David Miller maybe occupying that particular position for South Africa in T20 cricket? Because I think it would probably solve a lot of the issues that people have been complaining about, because it opens up a position for another big hitter to maybe come into the side as well.
Well, I think the question about David Miller is that he's obviously done brilliantly well for the Gujarat Titans, and as Neil said, it's so incredibly hard to get your career strike rate to what Miller's is. The question more than anything is for the management, because when you, assuming South Africa are playing a T20 game, okay, you're batting first, you're 85 for one at the end of 9 overs. The question for the management then is, should you send Miller in? Because if you send Miller in at that point, then you give him the time to get used to the conditions, and it gives him enough time to explode. Because what has been happening thus far is that with Miller batting at six, you typically send the batters ahead of him who can make an impact, undoubtedly. They're still talented players. But then by the time they play the high risk cricket, it's maybe the 17th over or the 18th over. And Miller then has only 12 balls to make a difference. So the real question is for the management. If they're willing to take that punt and get Miller to play in the ninth over if they're 1 wicket down, so that he can maximize his impact. Because thus far the trend has been to avoid that sort of an approach. Because
That's
I mean, Gujarat is doing that brilliantly well. Like they've done that all tournament basically.
that's
You
the
look at that
tournaments, yeah.
game against the Chennai Super Kings when Miller made 94, I think. He came in when they were 16 for 3, and I thought that was a genius move. But personally, I don't see that happening if South Africa were playing.
Is it
I think
almost
Miller
out
would
of
have been protected
mm,
there.
is it? Do you think it's almost out of fear that South Africa is keeping him in that number six position because they're so scared that if they move him up, they lose him early, then that's Muller out of the game with such a catalyst to take you over to a certain target.
I mean, possibly, it might be out of fear, but I think that's also been the general trend, right? That you want to protect the guy that can be that explosive, because there's no one else in the team who can perform that role. So I think there is that. I don't know if it's a fear of failure, but I do think that conservative approach still exists. Um, but yeah, I mean, personally, I think that's the biggest challenge for me, because I'm pretty sure if you ask David Miller if he wants to go out to bat in the ninth over with 11 overs to make an impact, he's going to say yes. But I think the question is for the management, because the management has to be able to accept the fact that he's not going to come off every time. No batter does. So if you send Miller in the ninth over and he's out by the 12th over, sometimes you have to accept that, because that's the nature of the game. But I think that's where it is. It's a bit of conservative cricket there, in my view, with respect to Miller.
Neo, educate us a bit over here, especially from a cricketing perspective, because and I want to talk T20 cricket specifically, of course. South Africa at the moment, when we look at that T20 lineup, there's a lot of speaking about this anchor positions, and there's some the people are saying that there's these things called an anchor, which are not a lot of people actually like the term anchor when we're talking about T20 cricket. I heard a lot of I see it seems to be quite a negative connotation around that particular word. But talking about you've been in a championship side. I mean, we know how the coach thinks about cricket. I mean, the ex-coach at least. Richard Das Neves, how he thinks about the game. But even Easton's has been, I've been quite impressed with the work ethic and the mentality that you got. A lot of your players have shown. I mean, in the past, I've spoken to quite a few of them, and a lot of them have spoken about this attacking mindset and brand of cricket, etc. Let's just can I talk to you about that especially when you were playing at Easton's, the thought process behind that and the talking that you guys have gotten from your coaches, how much adaptation can happen to a player to turn to increase their strike rates in particularly T20 cricket, because we're talking now about Temba, and a lot of people maybe were saying, his strike rate's not good enough, he needs to improve his strike rate. How do you go about actually going and do that, and logically do that?
So I'm gonna address the part that you referenced when you spoke about the language in the change room. I think the language and the culture changes completely, in the sense that we had a preseason tour just before the year before we won that Africa Cup. We had a preseason tour, and the whole team was tasked with describing their perfect brand of cricket. The whole team came up with their own answer or their own little explanation of what they think our most perfect game is, but it all alluded to the same thing. Boys want to play aggressive cricket, want to play front foot cricket. We want to dominate teams. Guys must hate coming to Willamore Park. That was the language. That is the chat. And I think if the whole team buys into that, if I'm sitting on the sideline and I see someone do something, hits the ball down long one's throat, in the name of being aggressive, we can almost take that because it's a culture that we're creating. It's a brand that we live by. And all of us are probably going to go in and try to do the same thing simply because it's what we agreed upon for the team. I think at this current moment, I think that message isn't maybe clear enough. It's very easy for teams to kind of say, no, we identify with an aggressive brand of playing cricket. But what does that actually mean? Does it mean number 8 can get caught at long on at 130 for 6, 130 for 5, and it's acceptable? You know what I mean? I think maybe the line is blurred in that regard. But from a strike rate perspective, I don't have the answer to that. But the common chat among some of the better batters that I've played with all say one thing, and it's freedom. I think freedom to express means they are allowed to come off on certain days, or they're allowed to misfire on a day because they know that he's going to come off the next day. And when he does, the team is going to win. So
That is something we've been speaking about with regards to Quinny, for example. We've seen when he's given the freedom, David as well, given the freedom to actually go out there and perform. Aiden, given shackles are off, given the freedom to perform. Continue, Neil.
really, so I just found the freedom in that bit kind of allowed players to play freely. I was fortunate enough to play with Wesley Marshall, and Wesley doesn't ask questions. He goes after everything and everyone. There's no one he doesn't. But that's just because it's a brand. A lot of guys call it reckless, or a lot of guys think it's not sensible. You know, the South African way says it's the power play. Make sure you're batting after power play. That's the blueprint that we've got. But then you've got 5 fielders on the fence, and what's the reason? What's the purpose of having someone bat with 5 fielders out when you could have just maximized with the 2 out? Because then you trust the rest of your lineup then to implement the exact same game plan that we've got. You can still be aggressive with 5 fielders out. It just changes now. You're not trying to hit 4s and 6s, but you're running well. You're hitting space. Like running 2 is just as aggressive. Turning 1s into 2s turns good balls into 6s. You know what I mean? So bowlers bowl a lot more 6 balls because you just don't get to bowl at the same batter enough. Or the batter's constantly putting you under pressure. Your best ball's going for 2. That's being aggressive. And we spoke about that at length in that change room. And it was clear that we had guys who could play like that, but we had guys who could hit from ball 1. And the name of the game was just aggression. Either aggressive runners, aggressive hitters, aggressive bowlers in the middle. Our bowlers up front, Imam Manak's job was to take wickets in the power play. They never ever said to him, there's another way of playing cricket. So that's just a brand thing. It's a mentality thing. It's an attitude thing. It's a culture thing. And everybody's got to buy in for it to work, I think.
And is there like, you probably won't be able to tell me the exact time period, but say now you have a team that has like players like, for example, you've got Rassi, you've got Riza, you've got Temba, who are considered to have lower strike rates in the T20 arena. Like maybe you have a team that has majority of that. Now you said about the mental switch and building that culture within the team. Is there like how long does it kind of take to see that culture come through? Does it take a lot of failing before you get to that? Or in some case, or in your opinion, did it just click immediately because of the type of players you have in the team? Is it more a type of player thing, or can players adapt to that type of culture quite easily?
I think players nowadays are upskill in the sense that we get such good coaching in South Africa. There's amazing coaches in the country that allow you to grow your game in that department. I just think it's a mental switch thing. I feel a lot of us is still a fear of failure thing as well. Name and lights, or the stage is set and we're not taking the positive option a lot of the time. Some of us are maybe thinking, I can't get out because the team needs. but in actual fact, the team may need something else. Maybe Dwayne Pretorius walks in for the Proteas at 8 and hits 3 6s, takes us from 160 to 180. But Dwayne may not get to bat because the guy batting at 4 decides, I'm going to take my time here because the team needs me to consolidate. You end up getting 160 and you lose the game in the 18th over. So it's like trusting the lineup, trusting the skill that you've got in the lineup, and doing your own job. That was another one, actually, that was big. Do your job. Know your role in the team and do that. And I think once we get at that, it's going to be a lot easier for us as cricketers in the country.
Now I'm laughing here, Aditya, and you know why? It's because these are things that we've been saying on this channel for quite some time now, saying that knowing your role, understanding what your role is in within the team, playing with freedom, taking the shackles off. From what Neo has said, I mean, can you maybe add something to that, or do you have any questions that you want to ask Neo himself as well?
I actually want to narrate an instance from the IPL. There was a game between RCB and Sunrisers Hyderabad in Mumbai on a Sunday afternoon, I believe. Very hot, and it was um, quite draining for all the players to be out there. RCB were batting first, and Faf was batting well. He scored a 50 there. And he ended up with 73 of 50 balls, and Dinesh Karthik, he ended up with like 30 of 10 balls. RCB won the game comfortably, but in the post-match presentation, when Faf was man of the match and he was talking to Harsha Bhogle, he basically said that, there was a point in the game when I felt like I should have retired out and brought Dinesh Karthik in because he would have been more effective, with his form and his ball striking ability. Now that didn't happen because RCB lost 2 wickets in quick succession, and therefore they needed at least one set batter to be there. So that's a different story. But the fact of the matter is that that conversation was happening between Faf, Mike Hesson, and Sanjay Bangar, which I thought was an unbelievable insight into their thinking, and I think it also illustrates what Neo just said, about Dwayne Pretorius potentially hitting 3 6s in there, but the number 4, taking a little bit of time to prevent that. So yeah, it's an interesting conversation, and I think the one thing that, in addition to your ball striking ability or your ability to make big scores in a T20, it's paramount for a player to have game sense. You to be able to be one step ahead of the game. I think that's the ultimate sort of skill set that a player could develop over a period of time.
And yeah, there was another narrative that I saw flying around, especially when I made a statement about conditions determine the way you're also going to approach a game. I mean, even the great team like England, I saw it here in South Africa when we all see them as this aggressive, smart brand of cricket that they just smash the ball out the ground from ball one and stuff. But in that particular game, I spoke about Davin Malan that adapted his game plan for because the conditions weren't necessarily, and South Africa were bowling really well up front to prevent them from scoring so quickly within the power play. So I want to ask you about the importance of learning of running between the wickets to an aggressive game plan, because myself and Aditya have spoken about that quite in length on previous shows where we said running between the wickets is so important, and also to an aggressive brand of cricket. For example, when Quinn is at the one end, having a player that can be adaptable to him, because I mean, to get the best out of Quinny sometimes, maybe perhaps he needs to take, if he's struggling at the one end, you maybe need someone to be able to rotate constantly or to take that pressure off Quinny at sometimes and to be able to be adaptable. Are you getting a feeling that South Africa is producing more adaptable type of cricketers going forward? But also, let's talk about that running between the wickets. Do you think it's an issue in South African cricket currently? Because I don't see it in every single team that people have that mentality. It's either one gun ho or sit back. It's like nothing in between, really. There's not a lot of teams that have found that balance. You could maybe say the Lions recently or the Titans when they have all their Proteas players, then it's a bit different. But I'm obviously talking Division 1 now. Give me your insight on that. I know I asked you a lot in that question. It's very, very low.
So my feeling is that it's just a personal opinion, but I think running in South Africa is underrated. And I think if you look at the scores or the past scores in the IPL on a normal day versus the past scores in South Africa in our domestic cricket, the difference is probably in the singles, because we probably hit as much boundaries, or we've got a Dinesh Karthik in a lineup somewhere in South Africa. You know, we've got a David Miller and Andre Russell somewhere. Every lineup goes into a T20 comp with one of those players. But the only difference is that if Virat Kohli is struggling, he gets a runner ball. We maybe face a lot more dot balls in between. And I've seen it where spin comes on and it's dot to six. It's like some guys maybe think along those lines. I've got nothing wrong with dominating the spin, but I think dot six isn't as great as 2-2-6. Because I'll probably bowl a shorter one thinking you're running down the wicket if you're just rotating well. I'm trying to save my over because I could just lose the over there. But I think we're just not running well enough to kind of give that lift. And coaches all around the country will tell you the biggest change room chat is the team with the least dot balls wins the game. Coaches actually don't make a single mention of the team with the most boundaries. If we hit the most sixes, we'll win. If we hit the most fours, we'll win. No. Coaches will tell you the team with the least dot balls will win the tournament. In the field, they'll say the same thing. The team that gets the least twos against them will win the tournament. That is our chat in the change room. Boys, those twos, we turn them into ones, and when we're batting, vice versa. Let's make sure one is two, and we'll win this comp. I'm not being funny when I say it, but it kind of
Smash the
works
like
out.
for that, guys. Smash the like, subscribe for that, because that's some excellent insight. My lord, I mean, it's great to have cricketers on the show that actually back up some of the points that we try to make, Aditya. Uh, yeah, we've spoken
I,
about, yeah.
we've obsessed about dot balls so much. I've literally spent afternoons watching entire games of cricket to note how many dot balls a team has faced in an inning. So I hear you, New. It's and I agree with you completely. And I think if people in the chat or you guys watched the IPL game yesterday, with Lucknow chasing over 200, they played 43 dot balls. That's where the game is gone. In 120 balls, you've played 43 dot balls and you're chasing 208. It's no surprise that you're on the losing side, right?
But no one's even saying be perfect about that. So no one is saying get 43 singles. But
Yeah.
if you get 20 out of the 40, that's one in every two balls. You get a single, you win the game. Yes.
Exactly. And they lost by 14 runs. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I just want him to talk all day. Just continue talking here. Cheers. Let's get into that a little bit more. Let's talk about you as a spinner, because obviously you have dreams of going further in the game. Is that in your mind when you're playing against opposition, that you know that, okay, I've got an opportunity here to catch someone at the other end and keep them there? Is that in your mind every single time? Do you know that? Do you feel that there's a lack in that ability to be able to get themselves off strike, certain batters?
I do. I firmly believe that there are certain batters that will maybe hit me further if they get it right, but there's a higher chance of bowling dot balls at them. Not because they don't have a touch game, but I think we don't believe in this. Like, we don't believe in it enough in South Africa. I think, and this is not saying that they don't know how to do it, but I think Quinny hits boundaries. David Miller hits boundaries. All these guys are world renowned for their boundary hitting ability, but nobody knows what they do in between. Then we grow up, us younger ones, and we model our game around those guys. And you've got the boundary hitting ability of these players, but you miss what they do in between. And I think there's at the start of a spell, you kind of think, how many dot balls can I bowl? And I think in a T20 game, that shouldn't be the chat. If me as a spinner can walk into a game, and probably spinners around the country who walk in and they think, how many dot balls can I bowl here to put my team into a winning position? I don't think it should be that way. Not as 5 fielders out. It should be impossible to bowl a dot ball with 5 guys on the boundary. but it happens a lot more than it should, I think, in T20 cricket. And in the past, it's happened as well. Where I've bowled to a few guys, and you almost sense, I have a feeling it's going to be dot or wicket now. Because you've bowled enough balls at the batter, you kind of have an inkling or a feeling. Like cricket is a feeling thing. You get an inkling that he's going to do something. There's a funny little bowlers bowl wide because they've got an idea batters are running down. It's not because you saw him run. No. It's just there's a feeling. You've bowled enough balls at him. And I think batters need to minimize the amount of balls that we as spinners bowl to them, especially in the middle there. That's probably the difference between net run rate and winning the World Cup.
Well, because I mean, I looked at that and we spoke about on length what was the reason South Africa didn't get into that knockout stages, and a lot of people said no, it was the Bangladesh game or whatever the case may be. But and I was sitting here and I was like, that Australia game, the whole approach in that first game was, it seemed like tentative and within their shell. Now, how do you feel South Africa can rectify that within the national setup to, so that we're not just, because we kind of look like a 170 type of team, but then towards the end of that tournament and since then we've looked like we're trying to become this aggressive type of team. Do you think it's about personnel, having the right personnel from 1 to 6? Do you think that that's maybe the reason why South Africa are not playing that brand of cricket quite yet?
Not actually. I think I've got a differing opinion on that. And this is not to say that batters aren't doing anything. Our batters are ridiculously good. But for the longest of time, we've had the best bowling attack in the world. And that kind of alleviates the pressure of those dot balls, because our bowling attack will bowl those dot balls. If we face 3 dot balls back to back against Jadeja, we trust that Sharma will be able to do the same thing because we've got the best spin in the world. You know what I mean? So I think that creates a bit of a, subconsciously, there's maybe a bit of a comfort towards it. There's a comfort lining into knowing, yeah, well, we didn't come off today, but our bowling lineup will do it for us. Or the bowling lineup, well, our batters have got 200 here today. Yeah, we'll be able to defend this. So I that feeds back into maybe what I'd said earlier, was knowing your role and focusing on doing your job. Yes, cricket is a team game, but I think if individuals aren't pulling their weights, it's very hard to win games. And the bowlers have gotten us out of a lot of trouble in the past 5-6 years. Since I've been a conscious cricket watcher, at least. From a coaching perspective, I think we've got the best coaches around the domestic circuit. I just think it's something that maybe we can identify as a country to get better at. I think maybe that's something that we have so many batting camps, or there's a preseason, there's alignment camps, there's all these things. I think that's one of them. Having T20 game plans, it should be simple, but it is not. Constructing innings, those kinds of things with batting coaches, I think that should be a point of reference and a point of learning for all the batting coaches in the country. To say maybe this is what we can do to ensure that we've got the best team coming for this T20 comp that's going to start the season next year. Because Mitch van Buren does not face dots. Guys, there's just, and I use him because it's maybe a personal touch thing as well, but it's incredibly difficult to bowl dot balls at guys like that. And I think the more players we have that think the way that he does, or that play or go about their T20 innings the way that he does, the better we are.
So let me touch on that, because, and before I give it over to Aditya again, there was a specific thing that you said, playing, that you had conversations in the dressing room, and I can picture someone like Richard Das Neves, for example, a coach like that, saying these type of things, playing with freedom. I mean, he's a Man United supporter. We know that connection over there. So me and him often have long chats about United when we do have time to talk about it. But it obviously comes from that philosophy, playing with freedom. But it duplicates what someone like Vian Libbe and Tristan Stubbs told me. Mainly Vian Libbe, because Vian Libbe's been in the circuit a lot longer, where Tristan's coming into the Warriors team quite quite soon, quite early now. The season was basically his breakthrough season, from a domestic cricket point of view, at the top Division One. But they spoke about how Robbie told them to play with freedom. Now, I want to ask you the opposite of that. What does it sound like when a coach is telling you not to play with freedom? Like, what is the opposite of that? What sort of messages would a coach say to you as a T20 player, to have a different type of strategy and not having that attacking brand of cricket? Because obviously there's various types of ways of playing the game. So what would it sound like if he wasn't telling you to play with freedom necessarily?
It is not. It is not in verbally saying don't play with freedom. It is in what happens in the change room when I get out. That's the biggest. So that's where it lies. It's not in my coach saying to me, listen, we need you to bat long here, don't get out. It's in, if I get out playing a shot that I probably shouldn't be playing, what's going to happen when I get into the dressing room? Or am I going to play the next game if I get out a certain way? That's the subtle, that's the subtle saying where coaches believe wickets in hand for the last 10 overs, and in the power play you get caught deep square pulling, or flicking off your pads caught deep square. It's in what's going to happen in the change room, because the next game, best believe it, I will get one there and I won't do it again. Just like that, you've kind of limited my scoring options, because maybe I would have hit that ball for 6, I just didn't hit it well on the day. But because I'm afraid of what the coach is going to say to me, I'm not trying to hit the boundary anymore. Because if I get out, what happens in the cleats? And I think that's probably how it is said, or that's how the message is filtered or conveyed to players. So it doesn't lie in saying no freedom, or, okay guys, a lot of coaches say play with freedom, I'm going to say we play this way. Nah. It's in you getting out in a conversation afterwards.
And I heard this when I spoke to Shukri and asked him about that aggressive brand of cricket. He actually told me that about under 19, saying, you guys might have observed our first campaign when they obviously played in the tournament. He said, you guys must have observed us as just coming out there and being reckless. But it was a message from me to give to them to say, go out there and smack, because like you said, it takes time for them people to actually convert to that and understand that everybody's on the same game plan and understanding of that. And that does lie with the coach. I can fully understand that, because if you go out there, you're playing with freedom, you come back to the dressing room and the coach puts your arm around you and says, you know what, next time you'll do it right. That's a different mentality to, like, why did you play that shot? You should have thought about it. And that's where I get so upset about the whole smart aspect of that sentence, because people say smart attacking brand of cricket. And I was like, the most important aspect of that whole sentence is not the attacking part or aggressive part. It's smart. Because how do you teach a cricketer to be smart? That should be the something that they should think of, and how you convey that. Aditya, you want to take over here? Any questions or adding to that?
I completely agree with what Neil said here, and uh, to me, I think the greatest example of that is MS Dhoni and the Chennai Super Kings, because there's a fantastic expression in India that if you graduate from the Chennai Super Kings, you're gonna emerge a better player. And I think that's unbelievable, right? Like, you think about 2019, Shane Watson is not scoring runs, okay, throughout the tournament. They persist with him 14 games. They make it to the playoffs, still not performing. In the final, Shane Watson scores an 80, almost takes Chennai to the trophy. They lose by 1 run because he's run out. I think that's unbelievable. You look at Ruturaj Gaikwad, for example. Young player didn't come off this year, but last year, Chennai lost 5 wickets in the power play in a game against the Mumbai Indians. Ruturaj stays on till the end, and he nails Jasprit Bumrah, of all players. How does he nail him? He sends his Yorkers sweeping to deep square leg for 6. It's almost like you allow a player to grow, and the way you do that is by ensuring that the atmosphere in the room is not awkward if they come out playing a poor shot. You know, it's the plan wasn't wrong, the execution was on the day, and it'll be better the next day. So I think that's something that I really respect about MS Dhoni, but about Faf du Plessis. You look at the number of changes that RCB have made this year, bare minimum. It's been largely conditions based, or um, in one case it's been form based, but that's about it.
And I mean, I think that's a fear that we're hoping, like for someone like as talented as Deva Previs that we're seeing now, it's maybe a fear that we have with regards to him, because at the moment we're seeing him get stuck on those dot balls too many times, we feel, and coaches are going to have to be very delicate and with him and make sure that they send the right messages to him when he gets into the Titan setup, for example, because I mean that's he's going to walk into a dressing room full of superstars again that are going to be seeing this young boy coming for their place, because that's literally what's going to be happening. That's the actual reality of the whole thing. This is a young boy that's been seen as a world talent at the moment, as a future star. Everybody in that Titans middle order is going to sit there, or top to middle order going to sit there and be like, we know we're going to have to turn it on here because this boy is can easily just take our place. But Neil, I want to touch on some of your experiences from cricket as well, because what you were saying earlier on about that mindset and just having that connection with the coach and understanding that the coach is going to back you even if you go out and play a bad shot. Corbin Bosch actually told me this, and I keep on punting this video. It's a video that's on this channel. It's an exclusive with Corbin Bosch. He speaks about what he learned from Australia, his time in Australia. Please go ahead and look at that video, because he speaks about that mindset and mentality, where he says that no matter what the format is, they have the same mentality. They've drilled that into their players, no matter what age they are, that they go out and play with intent. And it's not just going out and smacking, but it is smart cricket. But let's scrap that talk for right now. We could do a show on that alone. We will get you on again, Neo, for that as well, maybe in the future. But I want to talk to you about lessons in the T20 game that you've learned as a young cricketer coming through. You were very young when you came through. I started hearing about your name when you were 15, 16 already. I mean, Mr. Graham October, close, someone that I consider a close person to myself. I actually haven't done justice to that relationship. I haven't contacted him or spoken to him in quite some time. I'm gonna need to actually get a hold of him and have a chat with him, because I actually do miss having conversations with him and talking to him. But he was the one that told me about you, and that's the reason why I came to find you, and then we did that interview. But you were a young cricketer coming through. Tell us about your experiences, some of the plays that you've learned from. What sort of lessons have you learned in the T20 game that you can maybe give to others and give some insight to the fans?
So firstly, Mr. O, on my debut tour, the first tour I went on was in Cape Town. That's the one we had the interview with. That was in 2018. And this is in the morning. We walk down Newlands and we are doing a pitch inspection, trying to decide what we're going to do. At the end of the night before, we had a team meeting and it wasn't concluded. It was, if the wicket is going to take some turn going longer on, now you make your first class debut. If the wicket is green, Coffee Apia Adu plays. It's one of the seamers. So I walked down the stairs and we're staring at the pitch. I've got my coach's staff, the whole coaching staff is there. Every single human being that has come with the contingency from Easterns is down there. And Mr. O yells at me from across the field, Felane, come here. I go to him. He spent 20 minutes, almost into warm-up time. He spent 20 minutes where he was telling me, listen here, if I see another one of your social media posts when you train, I'm going to fly to Joburg and smack you. Like,
it sounds like you exactly.
He warned me about that for 20 minutes. He hammered down the importance of working in silence, of working in private. And it's weird because it's as if he knew that social media was going to take over. Now a lot of us are doing work and we're posting every single thing we do. It's almost as if to say, Coach, see me, please. Or I don't know who we're doing it for, but it's as if he saw it coming. And that's the kind of person that Mr. O has been to me. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but I will always be thankful for those words starting my career. From a T20 perspective, one was what you spoke about earlier with the importance of ones in T20 cricket. I think T20s are one in singles. Singles and doubles win T20 games, not necessarily fours and sixes. Don't get me wrong, it's lovely if you got Livingston who can walk in and just hit 120-meter sixes, but he runs in between as well. And people underrate the singles that he gets. But if Liam Livingston gets 7 of 2 balls, it's better than 6 of 2. Every coach in the world will take 6 and 1 over 6 and dot from you. And I think that's probably been the biggest lesson that I've learned. You know, I've done a lot of work on my batting as well. And those are the kinds of things that you love to hear, because it almost makes it easier for me now to construct a game plan for the different formats when I need to go and bat. And I understand the importance of one single run. Virat Kohli's average is 49.95. It's 1 run. It's literally the difference of 1 run. And I think we don't kind of understand the importance of that run. There's a lot of other little mini lessons that I've learned when being in the field and whatnot. But the funniest one comes from a keeper. So I stood at short 45 and he said to me, a batter kind of tells you what he's going to do. The inkling, like, trust your feeling and trust your gut when you're bowling, but be able to read the game. You know, Coach Larry Lawrence used to speak about TGTY. You know, the game tells you. A lot of the guys will say that as well. We've heard that in camp so many a time. And he wasn't lying. If a guy needs a boundary, the game will tell you. You will know whether you're about to go for a boundary or not. You will have a feeling or an inkling. And trusting my gut has been one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. Funny, actually, I'd just like to share a quick story. George Linde. If you go on Pitch Vision, Western Province versus Eastern's 2018, if you let me know of his wicket, how he got out in the One Day Cup, nobody knows. Because it's there, it's written, but the video has been deleted by someone. I'm not going to say who, but the video has been deleted. And the reason for that is, George Linde was batting with someone. And the day before was a 3-day game. They were abusing our number 10 and 11. We got a draw. Number 10 and 11 batted 11, 12 overs to win us the game. And so they were abusing the guys to a point where our number 11 walked off and he was crying in the change room for 20-odd minutes. I cannot repeat what they had said, but it was some bad things. Come to the one-day game. Now, I'm in for the one-day game. In my spell, George Linde's at the non-striker's end, and a batter hits the ball too long on. Or wants to hit the ball too long on, and I'm going to field that ball, but as I dive in front of George Linde. So George Linde trips and falls over me, but the batter's hit the ball straight to mid-wicket and is called 1. So the batter runs to the other side of the wicket there, and George Linde's then run out. So then they asked me, did you trip George Linde? And I said, and then the captain comes to me and says to me, hold on. Did George Linde play yesterday's T20 game? Yes, he did. What did he say to Coffee? Now he wants us to feel sorry for him. No, George, you can F off. Oh my God. So that said, I just tripped the guy. And then I'm fielding a third man, Coach Paul Adams, comes to me and says, we watched you on Pitch Vision tripping. I swear, guys, I didn't trip the guy. I did not. George Linde pads off, and I see him charging towards me. Absolutely steaming in towards me at third man. And I'm just waiting for the over to end so I can go bowl, because I can't be here. And he comes to me, and the first thing he says to me is, are you happy with what you've done? Do you take pride in that? Young cricketer, that's how you want to start your career, huh? You want to cheat your way to victories. That's how you want to go about your business. And I know nothing about this. So that's probably the one memorable moment of my career thus far. But I have learned a valuable lesson, and that lesson is, if you cannot dive far in front of the batter to stop the ball, let it go for 1. That was not pleasant. Let the ball roll. Let it go. But for anybody out there who is aspiring or who's trying to get into the game or trying to better their T20 game, I am only learning. I'm in my learning phase now. I'm just getting my feet wet in this thing. But I can quickly advise, learn from the senior players in the change room. Because you never know how long you've got them around. And it's funny because when you're young, you think they're going to be there forever. But, okay, I don't want to spoil it. But you lose the senior players and you kind of think of where your next source of wisdom, where's the next well of wisdom in the change room. I regret that there's one particular cricketer that I probably didn't use enough for his experience when he was around. He's moved on. He's done playing cricket now, and I'd love to pick his brain on certain things because 300
Who's
first
that?
class wickets done by the shop. It's Rowan Richards. I was gonna say someone else, but it's gonna give away things.
He's
So,
sitting on all the story.
So that's someone that I probably regret not speaking to enough because Rowi's done it at every level, barring the Proteas, and he's gone now. He's gone now, and I don't think we learn enough from those guys while they're still around. Another one is Coach Richard Desneves himself, actually. He was a professional off spinner, so one would think it should have worked out perfectly for me, but I never picked his brain enough because I was too busy focused on other things, and now you kind of don't have that well of knowledge anymore. So I'll advise against anyone coming into a change room, if you've got senior players around, learn from them because there's a reason why they've had such longevity in their careers. And if you aspire to have a career as long as theirs, accept that you were young, because I think, you can never be a fully fledged professional if you're not willing to become an amateur. I think we all want, you get a taste and you play a debut game and you think you know cricket. You've got no idea what the game actually is. And up until we, as young guys, are open to learning and are open to accepting knowledge and accepting criticism, our games are not going to grow. That's just the feeling from my sense there.
I think that's an excellent way to end off the show, Aditya. Any final words from you?
Oh, mate, I could talk to you for like 5 hours. I have a question for you, actually. Who's your favorite captain of all time and why?
My favorite captain of all time is Owen Morgan. And the reason behind that is I was able to witness firsthand how much work it is for a captain to change a culture in a space. With Eastons, prehistorically, Eastons was not a championship winning side. Before that little great period we had, the last trophy we won was in 2004. But I witnessed how a coach and a captain creates a collective to change a culture. And Owen Morgan absolutely revolutionizes changing culture because of what he's done with the England white ball side. You think of leaving the change room in a better place than you found it. At the end of it, we say leave the space in a better place than you found it. And for years to come, Owen Morgan's blueprint, Owen Morgan's footprint is going to be embedded in the English changing room. Because then you think of the guys that are coming in, Liam Livingstone absolutely epitomizes what Owen Morgan is talking about. Johnny Bairstow played cricket before Owen Morgan started this change, or the revolution started. But England have got 450 in a list day game, and it doesn't surprise me. Or in an ODI, and it doesn't surprise me. Because getting guys to buy into a culture and to buy into a system and to believe in what you want as a captain it's extraordinary. But you've got to be strong and you've got to be able to be inspirational and to lead from the front when you've got opportunities. Take me back to his 100 against Afghanistan in the World Cup, where he epitomizes the brand of cricket that England want to play or was striving to play at the time. And one, that's a captain that leads from the front. Two, that is someone who commands the dressing room, not by yelling or by showing, but by doing. You know what I mean? And for me, that single moment there is always going to be my greatest little cricket moment there. Just the whole revolution of English white ball cricket.
That's an excellent way to end the show. Guys, thanks a lot for coming on and tuning into the show. Thanks a lot, Neil. We will get you on the show again in the future. Just let me know, drop me a message. Aditya, thanks a lot for coming on the show and also coming to talk about this. I mean, we've discussed. I know we were supposed to only talk about David Miller today, but we spoke about a lot of things that actually pushed us towards maybe thinking about that. David Miller batting in that number 4 slot for South Africa. There is a case for it, definitely a case for it. Let's see what South Africa do. Let's see what they do in the forward, moving forward with regards to their brand of cricket, and if they will be able to do what Neo has been suggesting to basically the T20 game as a whole. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to click that notification bell for all future videos, please. Also, don't forget to smash the like button, comment, and share with all your friends and family. But also, don't forget to download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics Magazine Monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. We're actually working on a club cricket edition this month, where it's just going to give you insight into the club cricket game. There's a lot of insights from top quality people that have experienced club cricket. I'm not going to tell you guys the names quite yet because I want you guys to go and download it, but there's some excellent insight in this particular issue. So please go ahead and download and wait for that particular one. Also become a patron today. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. All the instructions are there too, guys. It's basically like buying me a coffee or a sweet. You can choose actually how much you want to donate. It's not a lot of at all. We just need numbers and more people to get involved so that we can start doing the things that we all dream of doing with this channel. Also, go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all your regular updates. Thanks a lot for coming on the show, everybody. Thanks a lot for all of you guys tuning in. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another Q&A session, both on Facebook and on YouTube. So get your questions in tomorrow. We have an Instagram account where you guys can lodge your questions, or you can wait for the show and give it in the live chat. So it's up to you where you want to ask us your questions. We'll see you again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace, everybody, and we'll see you very soon.